Well, hello there. I'm Kim Berry, Editor of Food and Drink Business. Welcome to Play, our weekly news roundup brought to you by GS1 Australia. GS1 is the go-to for all your barcode needs. Head over to gs1au.org and discover next generation 2D barcodes. They're a game changer for food and drink businesses. Before we get into the news of the week, it is all action stations here. It's a hive, indeed, of activity for the Hive Awards as we welcome and announce the Commonwealth Bank of Australia as our platinum sponsor. It is fantastic to see CommBank align its brand to the awards as we look to recognise, showcase and celebrate the innovation and excellence in our food and beverage manufacturing sector. As platinum sponsor, CommBank joins our gold sponsors, CombiLift and Hydroflux, silver sponsors Hawkins Watts, Heat and Control and Trimat, and our bronze sponsors Mintel and Process Partners. This level of support is greatly appreciated, particularly in this, the very first year of the awards. And entries close. They close soon, next week, 23rd of February. Get on it. We urge you to get your entries in. Encourage your clients, encourage business units within your company, the whole company, people. It's a great way to acknowledge your team or the completion of a project, so come on, giddy up. Head to thehiveawards.com.au for all the info. Okay, news this week. Fourth generation confectioner Men's has announced that the polywaffle is almost back, April to be exact. It's a little bit different. It's going to come in bags of bite-sized pieces rather than a bar, but Men's CEO Phil Sims said to do the bar would have required more time, more funding, and it didn't have the guarantee that it would actually have the same quality that people remembered. They haven't been made for 10 years, so some people's memories must be much more like a trap. Some of you are obviously wondering what on earth I'm talking about. The polywaffle was an Australian invention created in 1947. It was a wafer tube with marshmallow in the middle, covered in chocolate. I mean, what's not to love? Anyway, the bites have the same three components, but the wafer is mixed throughout. So bites it is. April, folks, write it down. A few weeks back, we brought you the story of 8th Day Foods. It's an Australian food tech startup, and they have developed an alternative protein proprietary technology. It was initially looking for an investor, but is now looking to sell the company and its tech. I spoke to the CEO, Tony Cartwright, earlier this week. He's managing the sale process and said that they've already had a number of inquiries from across the market. Alan Fells released his report into price gouging and unfair pricing last week. And look, it was a pretty sobering read. It doesn't just look at food and groceries. He looks at banking, electricity, early childhood, insurance, airlines, other components, other industries. But his four key findings about our sector were that there is insufficient competition in the sector, market power is exercised over farmers and many other suppliers, and that the gain in profits from that are not passed on, or certainly not passed on promptly or fully, to consumers because of market power and a lack of competition in the market. Price transparency for those down the supply chain of supermarkets is low, which is one barrier to effective price transmission. The supermarkets have not been transparent with customers about the price histories of their displayed items and their correlated discounts. Fells recommended that the ACCC hold a comprehensive inquiry into competition and prices in the retail food and grocery industry. He also said the Food and Grocery Code should be fully mandatory, and the code review should investigate creating a price register for farmers to assist them in understanding market prices across primary industries. The inquiry received more than 750 public submissions. Now, 325 of those were about the major retailers. And that was twice as many as the next largest category of complaints. That's already a lot to comprehend or take on board, but it was the figures that Fells put forward that put the wide eye in the word startling. Get your pens ready, there's going to be a quiz at the end. In the 2.5 years from March 2021 to September 2023, total food and non-alcoholic beverages prices covering the full range of a worker's staple shopping rose 15.2%. Now compare that to the cumulative rise of 15.4% that took a decade to do so, from December 2009 to December 2019. So 15.2% rise in 2.5 years versus a 15.8% rise that took a decade. In that same 2.5 year period, the prices of non-discretionary items increased more than 17%, while wages only rose about 8.4%. Fells said it's hard to overestimate the impact inflation is having on the cost of living. Inflation has been most acute in the goods and services that workers are unable to avoid, he said, adding that inflation has been broad-based and comprehensively eroded workers' living standards. In that 2.5 years, real wages declined by 5.6%. And Fells said the level of real wages is the lowest it's been since June 2009, which suggests that workers have lost over a decade of progress in living standards. I'm not sure why I'm monologuing all of this at you, but it absolutely floored me. And I think some of us, including me, have been throwing phrases and words around of inflation and cost of living crisis without actually truly appreciating what it means for living, breathing humans. Foodbank Australia's latest hunger report found 60% of households facing food insecurity have at least one member in paid employment. We're all in workplaces where someone is going hungry or struggling to feed their family. And I ask, how can that be? I mean, I certainly don't have the answers, but we can't see figures like that and then not act without urgency. We hear a lot about the reviews and inquiries and dismiss them as political point scoring or a waste of time. But we can't look away when those facts, figures and experiences that are uncomfortable are being shared. We have to be better than that because there's so much more at stake. The prices and pressures on our primary producers, our suppliers, our manufacturers, have an impact way beyond their bottom line, potentially doing irreparable damage to people, their families and their community. It's me getting off my high horse. Curiously, there's lots of other news. 2 more craft breweries went into voluntary administration this week, Hawker's Beer and Big Shed. Saputo recorded a $197 million non-cash goodwill impairment against its Australian dairy business. Nutella turned 60 and PepsiCo announced some C-suite appointments. But really, that'll do. And let's all wave at CommBank and welcome them on board as our platinum sponsor. For all these stories and more, head to the website foodanddrinkbusiness.com.au. Head to the Hive Awards to find out about the categories and the entry forms, thehiveawards.com.au. Don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to tell your family and friends. Thanks to GS1 Australia. And with that, I'm Kim Berry, over and out.